John, tell me your name, who you are, what you do for a living, and why are you standing in this little town in the mountains in Colorado?
I'm John Pavlovitz. I'm a 20-year veteran in local church ministry and living in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I think I'm here because I, like so many other people, am frustrated and exhausted and really ready to do something powerful in the world. And so this is the place where I found myself. And we're here, I think, because we're people of faith and we see what has happened in America. We see the way that Donald Trump has sort of taken hold of the Christian faith, and we don't like what's happening. And so we want to be a different expression of that faith. We want to show people that there is an alternative, and we want to show people what the heart of Christ really looks like again.
Well, you're kind of modest about this, but actually you're sort of a leader in your field, aren't you? You have quite a following.
Yeah, I've been fortunate that the writing has been resonating with people, but I think it shows that really the commonality, those questions that are there, and the longing and the angst that's there, regardless of faith tradition. So I think this is a great place for us to be gathering.
What sort of ideas do you have on standing up for what you think is Christian ethics in the age of Donald Trump?
Well, I think part of it is people who are maybe of a more progressive mindset need to be unapologetic about really lifting up the values of the life and ministry of Jesus, and we need to stop apologizing for a faith that doesn't look like Donald Trump's Christianity.
Schaefer, I'm a writer and an activist. I come from an evangelical background, John. Do you?
I come from a Roman Catholic background, so I talk about gluten and guilt were part of my history.
Are you still a Roman Catholic?
I am not. I am a wanderer. I am sort of just an independent Christ follower, just trying to figure out where I fit in this whole thing.
What sort of things have you written?
I've written a book called The Bigger Table, and I have a blog called Stuff That Needs to Be Said, and I've been fortunate that it's been resonating with some people, and they ask the questions that I'm asking, and they're feeling what I'm feeling about the state of Christianity and about this country.
And John, what are you doing specifically right now? You know, I record these videos, and I blog, and I write, and I speak, all aimed at trying to tell people that there's a better ethical way to look at what I think the call of faith is than following Donald Trump with his racism and bigotry and all the rest of it.
Yes.
What have you been able to tell people?
Well, I've been telling people that we meet in our shared humanity, and when we meet in our shared humanity and we lift up the value of a life, our life begins to look like the life and ministry of Jesus. And I'm trying to tell people, if they have that pull to express Jesus in the world, they have to do that loudly as the right has been in a false Christianity.
Why do you think the right went for Donald Trump? I know it's a horribly loaded question, but just if you had to give a thumbnail from someone from another planet who read the sayings of Jesus and then looked and said, how does that stack up with supporting this guy? How would you explain it?
I think they pull from an Old Testament idea of a God maybe of fear and control, and I think it's very hard for a Donald Trump supporting Christian to use Jesus. They never use Jesus, they use God, because they can make God into anything that they want. They can project all the fear and the angst upon that God, but it's really hard to take Jesus and make him into something that even remotely resembles Donald Trump.
Yeah, I think that's a tremendous point. And you know, it's so odd to me that exactly in that frame, you've got Donald Trump doing these symbolic things like putting the capital of Israel in Jerusalem,
right.
You know, recognizing that he's supported by all these people like John Hagee and these other far-right Christian Zionists. It just seems to me, as someone who comes from an evangelical background, that he has attracted to him not just white evangelical voters, but when it comes to the leadership, if I may put it this way, the flakiest, worst group of people you can imagine. And I say that as someone who had a father who was an evangelical icon,
right.
But he wasn't a flake or a mean man. He did talk about Jesus.
That's right.
And he would be shocked right now by Dad Francis Schaefer. And I just think that someone like you standing up on this is actually closer to even the kind of countercultural Jesus movement out of which so much of the evangelical fervor came in the 70s and 80s that you all inherited than anything remotely connected to what we call the religious right.
Yeah, and it's really about commandeering that back and being unapologetic and being bold and realizing that you can do all that. You can be loud and still be redemptive and still be Christ honoring. So that's what I think where the movement is on the left.
My name is Heather Nelson, and I am an entrepreneur, and I most recently founded a mental health organization in Colorado.
How may I atone? I ask myself these questions silently and inwardly. How may I atone for helping to poison America with certainty addiction? How do I defend my grandchildren against the religious rights juggernaut I helped create? How do I reject what my parents stood for, fundamentalist fanaticism, and yet honor the love they gave me? How can I help my grandchildren stumble upon the goodness of life before they're sold towering mounds of brain-damaging garbage? How do I help save the world? And what kind of deluded messianic fool am I to believe that this is even possible?